بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله Billahi ta'ala, correct your intentions. The author says, may Allah have mercy upon him. قال المؤلف رحمه الله والندب والنياحة whining over the dead and wailing, lamenting the dead. الشرح, the explanation. أن من محرمات اللسان التي هي من الكبائر is that amongst the prohibitions of the tongue, which is one of the major sins, is الندب والنياحة, the whining over the dead and the lamenting of the dead, يعني in the forbidden way. فالندب هو ذكر محاسن الميت برفع الصوت. The whining is mentioning the good traits of the dead by raising the voice. كوا جبلاه ووا كهفاه, like, oh my mountain, oh my cave. Now what's here in Arabic? Wa, that's a special calling particle. Calling, like yeah, when you call someone. Wa is a special calling particle. So wa jabalah, jabal is mountain. Kahf is cave or cavern. And then you add the alif and the ha at the end. In this way of calling, it's a type of nida, a type of calling. It's a calling that incorporates whining. And so notice the sound of the calling particle here. Wah. So the meaning of nadab is whining, linguistically. Yeah. So like for one to say, Wa jabala, oh my cave, wa kahfa, or oh my mountain, oh my cave. وأما النياحة فهي الصياح على صورة الجزع. And as for the niyaha, it is shouting. So the nadab is the lamenting, but the word means whining. And the niyaha is the screaming. Basically, what they call it these days, crashing out. فهي الصياح على صورة الجزع. It is to shout or scream in the way of having a fit. لمصيبة الموت. Having a fit due to the calamity of death. فتحرم إذا كانت عن اختيار لا عن غلبة. This is forbidden if it were being done deliberately. If one were deliberately behaving in this way, under full control. So just translating it, if it were done by choice, عن اختيار. I'm just using more elaborative words here. If one were under full control of himself in reality and he was behaving in this way, then that's forbidden. لا عن غلبة. It's not a sin if one were overcome. So the sin is when he's acting. وقد روى البزار وغيره مرفوعا, and Al-Bazzar and others narrated as a marfu' hadith. We started hadith terminology. Marfu' raised up to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Al-Bazzar and others narrated as a marfu' report attributed to the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. صوتان ملعونان في الدنيا والآخرة مزمار عند نعمة ورنة عند مصيبة. Two sounds are cursed in this life and the afterlife. A pipe during an endowment, like a party, and a moan during a calamity, but yani What's meant by moan here is the sin we're describing. I'm just trying to bring the language out for you. I could say it only in a way that reflects the religious meaning we want, but I'm trying to do more than that. أي النياحة عند المصيبة. The meaning is this screaming or shouting at a time of calamity, this acting. وأما ما رواه البخاري ومسلم من حديث عبد الله بن عمر رضي الله عنهما عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. And as for what Al-Bukhari and Muslim narrated from the hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah accept his and his father's deeds, from the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, أنه قال, that he said, الميت يعذب في قبره بما نيح عليه. The dead is punished in his grave for the carrying on that was done for him or over him, the carrying on that was done over him. That's what maybe some people might say. That's colloquial though. Carrying on. This shouting and such behavior. The dead person is punished in his grave for the carrying on that was done over him, for this screaming that was done over him. فهو محمول على ما إذا أوصى بالنياحة عليه. This is interpreted to be in reference to his leaving a will for this conduct to be performed over him. أو سكت عن النهي عنه وهو يظن أن أهله ينوحون عليه بعد موته مع رجائه امتثال نهيه. Or also this hadith refers to someone who is silent about forbidding his family from doing this while he thinks that they will do it, and he hopes that they will listen to him. He hopes they will listen to him if he tells them not to. And he thinks they will if he doesn't. And then he doesn't. Then that's haram.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Say the person don't know about that judgment. Would he get punished then?
It's not a condition for him to fall in the sin that he knows about.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. That's why it is important to learn. Then we're going to learn, and then we're going to avoid a sin that we wouldn't have avoided had we not learned. And we're going to learn, and we're going to avoid an invalidator of the prayer that we didn't know, for example. And we didn't hear in all the lessons, only one time, for example. And we'll go to many, many, many lessons. And some lesson, one of those many lessons was something we needed that was very valuable for us. قال المؤلف رحمه الله, said the author, may Allah have mercy upon him, وَكُلُّ قَوْلٍ يَحُثُّ عَلَى مُحَرَّمٍ, and any saying that encourages something forbidden, أو يفتر عن واجب, or discourages an obligation, وَكُلُّ كَلَامٍ يَقُدَحُ فِي الدِّينِ, and every talk that discredits the religion, أو في أحد من الأنبياء, or one of the prophets, أو في العلماء, or all of the scholars, أو القرآن, or the Quran, أو في شيء من شعائر الله, or anything amongst the symbols of God, meaning the symbols of God's religion. Any talk that discredits any of that. الشرح, the explanation. هذه قاعدة عظيمة جليلة النفع. This is a great this is a great rule with great benefit. Because لأنه يدخل تحتها أمور كثيرة مهلكة. Because under this rule are many destructive matters. فَيَا فَوْزَ مَنْ عَمِلَ بِهَا. And so, congratulations to whoever practices this rule. بِتَجَنُّبِ مَا ذَكَرَهُ مُحَذِّرًا مِنَ الْوُقُوعِ فِيهِ. By avoiding what the author mentioned, bewaring of falling into these things. فكل كلام يشجع الناس على قول المحرمات فكل كلام يشجع الناس على فعل المحرمات. And so any talk that encourages the people to do what is forbidden, أو يثبط هممهم عن فعل الواجبات, or it demoralizes them, discouraging them from doing an obligation or from doing obligations. كأن يقول لمسلم, like for one to say to a Muslim, اقعد معنا الآن ولا تصل. Sit with us now, don't pray. تقضيها فيما بعد, you can make it up later. أي بعد خروج وقتها, meaning after the time goes out. That's what the speaker means. فهو محرم, such speech is forbidden. وكل كلام يقدح في الدين, and any speech that discredits the religion, أي ينقص الدين, diminishes the religion. أو في أحد من الأنبياء, or a single one of the prophets. أو في العلماء, or the scholars, meaning all of the scholars. And here be mindful about speaking ill about the people of knowledge. This is a particularly deadly gossip that a person who does not fear Allah will not avoid. You're going to know when someone is actually a knucklehead when he talks against the people of knowledge. Not talking about correcting a rule. I'm talking about foul mouth. The foul-mouthed people speak about the people of knowledge. And those ones have particular badness about them. So beware of them. Yeah, it is said that the flesh of the people of knowledge is poison for those who eat it. You know, in our religion, consuming the flesh of a person, a dead person in particular, is an analogy for gossip. A dead Muslim. So consuming this flesh, you don't want to do that of a human, a dead one too. But it is said that the flesh of these scholars is poison for those who consume it, or the flesh of the people of knowledge. And some of those people who talk like that about the people of knowledge, they became like dumb. And their situation got bad too, like wretched ones, sinful people, unsavory. أو شيء من شعائر الله, or anything amongst the symbols of God, meaning God's religion. كالصلاة والزكاة والأذان والوضوء ونحو ذلك, like zakat and adhan and wudu and the likes of that, like the khimar in general, and the beard in general of the Muslim, and the turban, and he already said the prayer, I was going to say congregational prayer, and the masjid, the symbols, the signs of Allah's religion. فهو كفر. Degrading any of that is blasphemy. When we said about the scholars, all of the scholars, it's going to be blasphemy, degrading them. قال المؤلف رحمه الله, said the author, may Allah have mercy upon him. ومنها التزمير, and one of the sins of the tongue is piping, playing a pipe. That would make you a piper. الشرح, the explanation, أن من معاصي اللسان التزمير, is that amongst the sins of the tongue is piping. وهو النفخ بالمزمار, that means blowing into a pipe. وهو أنواع, and there are different types. منها قصبة ضيقة الرأس متسعة الآخر. One of them is a cane, قصبة. يعني, I used to know those words. يعني, musical jargon from music class. They teach you about instruments and the pieces the instruments are made from. So qasaba usually means like a cane. So means like a pipe here, the long part. ومنها ما هي قصبة. منها قصبة. So amongst those types is a pipe. ضيقة الرأس. One end of it, the head of it is tight. متسعة الآخر. But the end of it, the other end of it is wide. Is that a clarinet? I want to look real quick here. Yeah. Just to, here, I'll show you. Tight at one end, wide at the other end. So he didn't say how wide, but that does fit the description. Tight on one end, wide at the other end. And it's a pipe. He says, يزمر بها في المواكب والحروب على وجه مطرب. It is piped, يعني it is blown. في المواكب, I don't know what mawakib means. There's nothing coming to me there. It is blown during the mawakib and during battles in an enchanting way. Yani, in a way that puts you in a trance. Also, this might be an appropriate word here when you're trying to explain to a person what is the effect of the wind and string instruments. Sometimes we say it's euphoric, or sometimes we might say it's enchanting. So maybe we could say it puts you in a trance. Maybe they might say makes you vibe. But drums are lawful, even if it makes you vibe. Those ones are lawful. ومنها ما هي قصبة مثل الأولى. مواكب, processions. Okay, thank you. Processions. So they are blown during processions and battles in an enchanting way. ومنها ما هي قصبة مثل الأولى. And there's another kind, it's a pipe like the first one. يجعل في أسفلها قطعة نحاس. So there's a dhamma here. معوجة. I'm used to this with a kasra. معوجة. So it's here with a dhamma. يزمر بها في أغراس البوادي. يزمر بها في أعراس البوادي. He said there's another type. It's like the first one, but there is attached to its bottom a piece of brass. A crooked piece of brass. And it is blown. It is piped during the weddings of the outskirts, like the nomads or the prairies, out in the prairies. So I think there was a picture of that here also. Let's look again. See that there? That piece, crooked piece right there? Maybe that's what Sheikh's talking about. There's another one here. I think it's the same thing. Here it's crooked up here. On both ends, crooked. Subhanallah. You know, I always think to myself, I remember back in grade school going to music class, and we used to learn about these things. And sometimes the instruments were produced, and we could touch them and, play with them and things, blow on them or the like. You don't think anything of it, but after I became Muslim, it's like as if there was something in my heart, like, something's not right about these things, but doesn't really appear. I don't know if you feel me there. Let's get back here. Bismillah. قال القرطبي. Al-Qurtubi said, لم أسمع عن أحد ممن يعتبر قوله أنه يبيح المزمار. I have not heard from anyone whose saying has regard that it is permissible to play a pipe. انتهى. End quote. وتحريم ذلك كسائر آلات اللهو المطربة بمفردها. And Sheikh says here, the prohibition of that is like the rest of the enchanting musical instruments, the rest of the musical instruments that are enchanting alone. So here's where the Sheikh mentioned that. What did we learn is the thing that makes the instrument actually haram, meaning what actually is the reason for the prohibition. It is that the thing, not merely that it is enchanting, not just that, but that it is enchanting alone, without being mixed with another instrument, meaning without a band, without an ensemble, even less than an ensemble. I think ensemble implies a big band. Just on its own, it's enchanting. So that's a guitar, a piano, violin, a harp, a flute, a saxophone. كالرباب والكمنجة. Like the rabab and the kamanja. These are some sorts of guitars. وَهُوَ مَا عَلَيْهِ الْجُمْهُورِ. This is what the majority are upon. Just real quick before I get too far from Al-Qurtubi's statement. When he said, I didn't hear from anyone whose word is regarded that it's permissible to play the pipe. Just take note here that he's mentioning the pipe in particular. As if he's saying maybe some said something about something else, but this one, I never heard from anyone who has any regard that this one is permissible. هو ما عليه الجمهور. This is what the majority are upon. ولا يلتفت إلى القول الشاذ الذي قال به بعض أكابر السلف. And there is no regard given to the anomalous saying, that means inapplicable, not permissible to apply. This anomalous saying of some of the elite Salaf, that means coming from major heroes. An inapplicable saying that came from some of the major reliable heroes amongst the scholars from the Salaf. There is no regard given to this, the Shaykh is saying, concerning all the instruments that are independently enchanting. وَبَعْضُ الشَّافِعِيَّةِ وَالْحَنَفِيَّةِ. And this anomalous, irregular, inapplicable saying was also said by some Shafi'is and Hanafis. من أنهم أجازوا الاستماع إلى آلات اللهو المطربة. That they have legalized listening to enchanting musical instruments. So then, Sheikh's telling you right there, yes, there is a saying from some of the mujtahids. Don't take it though. Don't be amongst those who think that this one is applicable. I'm concerned about Malaysia and Indonesia. I don't know if it's both of them or one of them. I cannot tell the difference. Seems like they like to play the guitar out there. It's not rare to find Muslim Malaysians and or Indonesians who are guitar players. Subhanallah. لأنه لم يثبت عندهم أن الرسول حرمها. They legalized this because it's not confirmed to them that the messenger forbade them. So they didn't, there wasn't evidence according to them that it's forbidden, so they didn't forbid them. لكن لا يكفر مستحل ذلك. However, the one who legalizes this is not deemed a kafir. So this is a very important case here. إلا من يعتقد أن الرسول حرم ذلك ثم قال عنه إنه حلال. Unless one has personally the conviction, he himself truly holds the conviction that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam forbade that, and despite that he legalizes it, then he would blaspheme for this legalizing. قال المؤلف رحمه الله, said the author, may Allah have mercy upon him, والسكوت عن الأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر بغير عذر. And silence from bidding the good and forbidding the evil without an excuse. Al-ma'ruf means what is good, what is compliant. And al-munkar means what is objectionable, what is denied. الشرح, the explanation. أن من معاصي اللسان السكوت عن الأمر بالمعروف وعن النهي عن المنكر بلا عذر شرعي. There was something I meant to mention for you. Slipped me. When the Shaykh said that amongst the sins of the tongue is discouraging the good. Is there a husband out there who doesn't like his wife to teach the people? Is there a husband out there, he found his wife teaching people the knowledge of the religion and discouraged her? Subhanallah, what a bad situation to be in. Pray for yourself if that's your case. Maybe you have something bad for you, and fix your situation. بأن كان قادرا آمنا على نفسه ونحو ماله. One would not have a religious excuse when he is able and safe, meaning he is personally safe and the likes of his money is safe. قال الله تعالى, said God, exalted is he, لعن الذين كفروا من بني إسرائيل على لسان داود وعيسى بن مريم ذلك بما عصوا وكانوا يعتدون كانوا لا يتناهون عن منكر فعلوه لبئس ما كانوا يفعلون. Those are the 78th and 79th verses of Surah Al-Ma'idah. They mean damned, cursed were those who blasphemed from the children of Israel upon the tongue of David and Jesus, the son of Mary. David was damning some of the Israelites who blasphemed, and Jesus was damning them too. That is because of their disobedience and because they were transgressors going beyond the bounds. They used to not forbid anything objectionable that they did, meaning they didn't mutually forbid. They did not used to mutually forbid the objectionable that they would do. Indeed, how bad is what they were doing. Oh, how bad is what they were doing. This means that they used to sin in each other's presence without forbidding each other. That's the case of some Muslims. And but it's not the case of the Muslims at large. So that's why that concept is baffling. That's why we find it astonishing about them. This was their quality. Rather, the quality of the nation of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is that they bid the good and forbid the evil. The Muslims are good doers. And many of the kuffar, they actually don't like good doers. They don't like that. They hate good doers. And they think good doing is corny. Yes. So we do bid the good and forbid the evil, the nation of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That's very common. Just make a mistake, and then all the Muslims will be ready to tell you you're wrong. Subhanallah. وقد ذكر الفقهاء لجواز إنكار المنكر أي المحرمات على فاعلها كون ذلك المنكر محرما بالإجماع. And the jurists have mentioned for the permissibility of objecting to the objectionable, meaning the forbidden, objecting to the doer of this objectionable, for the permissibility of that, that's the word Sheikh used here, the jawaz, the permissibility of that it is something objectionable by consensus. That this objectionable thing is forbidden by consensus. There is no madhab that you can take that allows it. فلا ينكر المختلف فيه بينهم. So therefore, that upon which there is difference in opinion is not objected to. That which there is difference in opinion amongst them is not objected to. إلا على من يرى حرمته. إلا على من يرى حرمته. Except for the one who sees that it's forbidden. Yani he's taking that madhab. Then, if someone is taking a madhab in which something is forbidden, we object to the one who is doing what is forbidden according to his own madhab. وَكَوْنَهُ لَا يُؤَدِّي إِلَى مَفْسَدَةٍ أَعْظَمٍ. And another condition for it to be permissible is that it does not lead to a greater corruption. فَإِنْ أَدَّى الْإِنْكَارُ إِلَى ذَلِكَ حَرَمٌ. So if objecting leads to that, it's forbidden. Like if you were to object to a person's blasphemy, he will curse the religion, then don't object. Just don't say anything. فَمَا كَانَ مَعْلُومًا مِنَ الدِّينِ بِالضَّرُورَةِ. So anything that's known in the religion by necessity, اشترك في الأمر به والنهي عنه العالم والجاهل. Anything that's known in the religion by necessity, meaning anything that is common religious knowledge, then the obligation of bidding the good and forbidding the evil is shared between the scholar and the commoner. But he said jahil. Jahil means ignorant. Ignorant here means not a scholar, and so I'm saying a commoner. أما ما كان خفيا فلا يتكلم فيه إلا العالم. As for what is obscure, as for what is detailed case, I mean, by saying it that way, the commoner doesn't know it, then no one should speak about it but the scholar. Scholar now here means the one who knows. Like, even if he's a student of knowledge who's not really a scholar, but he has more knowledge than your average commoner. Then also, this kind of person, that is a kind of person of knowledge. People of knowledge are two kinds, or two ranks, the scholar and the student. The student is amongst the people of knowledge, and some of these students become advanced students, not yet scholars. Then they are amongst the people of knowledge with the meaning that they know many things that the commoners don't know. So then it's going to be their duty also to speak up concerning what they know when there is something forbidden. لأن غير العالم قد ينكر المختلف فيه على من يرى خلاف مذهبه. And this is because the one who's not a scholar might object to something that there's difference in opinion about. And he's objecting to someone who's following a different madhab. أي على من مذهبه خلاف مذهب المنكر. Meaning the madhab, the way of the one who's being objected to, is a legal valid one different from the one who's objecting, who's upon a legal valid one too. فيكون خالف القاعدة. And then this unaware one who's objecting is going against the rule. لا ينكر المختلف فيه. That which is different about is not objected to. وإنما ينكر المجمع عليه. Merely what is agreed upon is objected to, meaning what's agreed upon to be bad is objected to. So then sometimes you'll hear something. It might sound very strange. You might think it's a lie. Just, you don't know. There's many sayings out there. Someone was just asking me, can you confirm for me this saying in School of Ahmed that a menstruating woman can make wudu to go into the masjid? I was like, what? I never heard of such a thing. There's something like that. There's such a thing. So, and other things, subhanallah. Don't go trying anything that passes your ear though. Learn about a matter with the proper details before you attempt to practice it. MashaAllah. Yeah. And then you need to be patient also with such an objector. He's going to object to something, not knowing that he doesn't really have the right to. And you'll teach him. وهي متفق عليها لكن لا مانع من أن يرشد الشخص إذا أخذ برخصة في مذهب يرخص فيما هو محرم في مذهبه من دون إنكار إلى الأخذ بالاحتياط. But there's nothing to prevent guiding a person who is taking an easier judgment in one madhab, a madhab that legalizes something that is illegal in another madhab. There is nothing to prevent advising him to do what is more precautious. فيقول له, and therefore he would say, لو فعلت كذا كان أحسن. Had you done like this, that would be better. And when someone says something to you like that, how do you feel about that? Do you have a gut reaction to be defensive, to defend yourself, to say why you're not wrong? even you're not wrong. But anyway, that's what you're gonna do because you just got criticized. So you're gonna say why you're not wrong. Try to rein this in. And when a person gives you such advice like this one, if you did like this, would be better than when yourself wants to say, oh, well, stop yourself, say, okay, that's it. Barakallahu feek. It's very good for you. And I remind myself. كما إذا رأى إنسانا يقتصر على ستر العورة المغلظة ويكشف فخذه, like seeing a person, a man, covering only his privates and exposing his thigh. So he has on some shorts from the 70s. You know those shorts from the 70s got some lines down the side? And they had socks that have like rings. If you were alive then. So he's wearing some of those. وَهُوَ لَا يَرَى ذَلِكَ حَرَامًا, and he doesn't see that this is forbidden. فَيَجُوزُ لِلَّذِي يَرَى ذَلِكَ حَرَامًا فِي مَذْهَبِهِ أَنْ يَقُولَ لِهَذَا. So it's permissible for the one who sees that this is forbidden because of the madhab he follows to say to this other one, لو جعلت سترتك شاملة لما بين الثرة والركبة. Oh, Asyan, why don't you cover everything between your navel and your knees, or even more, or something like that, such as, if only you would do such and such, or how about, or the likes. It's a good thing if you, for example. And then what you're going to do when someone says that to you, don't fight, just say, okay, barakallahu feek. وممن ذكر ترك الإنكار في هذه المسألة ابن حجر المكي من الشافعية. And amongst those who mentioned not objecting in this case is Ibn Hajar. That's Al-Haytami. Ibn Hajar al-Makki means Al-Haytami, the one who's one of the Shafi'is. وعز الدين المالكي من المالكية. And Izzuddin the Maliki, from amongst the Malikis. So there's some redundancy there. Unless this first reference to Maliki here means is something else. Unless that's different attribution. Al-Maliki here, if that's to other than the Malikis, then there's nothing redundant here. ذكر ذلك ابن حجر في فتاويه في رجل كاشف فخذه. Ibn Hajar mentioned that in his book of verdicts about a man exposing his thigh. كاشف فخذه. Oh, رجل كاشف فخذه. But say كاشف فخذه. وعز الدين المالكي ذكره في رجل يكون في الحمام مع وجود غيره كاشفا فخذه. And Izzuddin the Maliki, he mentioned this case about a man who is in the spa, let's say, steamy place, with the existence of others, and his thigh is exposed. He's just wearing brief underwear, for example. وكشف الفخذ للرجل جائز عند خمسة من المجتهدين. For a man to expose his thigh is permissible according to 5 mujtahids. منهم مالك وأحمد بن حنبل في أحد قوليهما. Amongst them are Malik and Ahmad ibn Hanbal, both having 2 sayings about this case. 2 sayings means one of their 2 sayings is that this is the rule, that a man can expose his thigh. And they have other sayings, not that rule. وكذلك الإمام المجتهد ابن أبي ذئب Also, the Mujtahid Imam Ibn Abi Dhi'b, he has this saying, ويحتج لذلك بحديث حسنه الحافظ ابن حجر, and that's proven by a hadith deemed fair by Hafiz ibn Hajar. فعند هؤلاء عورة الرجل الفرجان. So according to those, a man's nudity is the front and back privates. So that means what he can do to cover his aura: get a loincloth for the front and a loincloth for the back and a string that goes around his waist, and he's covered now. Now, I don't know if they have details how far down needs to go, etc., or yeah, like some fiqh they have there. But it does mean that when he puts the string around his waist, who's covering his outer this way, then it means seeing his side. So basically, you can see an amount of the cheek of his buttocks. This is not awrah. ولا يجب الأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر على من يظن أنه لا يفيد في المأمور والمنهي. And it's not obligatory to bid the good and forbid the evil for someone who thinks that there's no point. Yani, it's unhelpful concerning what's being forbidden, commanded or forbidden. فَلَيْسَ الْأَمْرُ كَمَا قَالَ صَاحِبُ الزُّبَدِ. So the matter is not like what the author of Az-Zubad said, كَأَمْرِ مَعْرُوفٍ وَنَهْيِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَإِنْ يَظُنَّ النَّهْيَ لَمْ يُؤَثِّرِ. This author, Ibn Raslan, he has a 1,000-lined poem in the Shafi'i school called Az-Zubad, and he says in this line, like commanding the good and forbidding the evil, even if one thinks that forbidding is pointless. So we say, no, he's wrong about that. If he thinks forbidding is pointless, then it's not obligatory to do it. Allah says in the Quran, فَذَكِّرْ إِن نَفَعَتِ الذِّكْرَى. It means remind if the reminder benefits. So there's a condition there. If you want, you can say, if the reminder benefits, then remind. قال أبو زرعة في نكته ما نصه. Abu Zur'a said in his points, quote, ولا يسقط أي وجوب إنكار منكر والأمر بالمعروف بعلمه أو ظنه أنه لا يفيد في المنهي والمأمور. قال في المهمات إنه لا نعرف أحدا قال به. So there was a statement that's being cited here, which is the obligation of objecting to the objectionable and bidding what is compliant and good is not dropped by one's knowledge or assumption that it is useless concerning what is being forbidden or commanded. The author of Al-Muhimmat says, so Abu Zur'a says, the author of Al-Muhimmat says about this, إِنَّهُ لَا نَعْرِفُ أَحَدًا قَالَ بِهِ. We don't know anyone who says this, that the obligation of bidding the good and forbidding the evil is not dropped, even if you know that it's pointless, or even if you assume that it's useless. قال به بل نقل الإمام في الشامل في أصول الدين عن القاضي أبي بكر أنهم أجمعوا على عدم الوجوب ولم يخالفه فيه. In fact, the Imam in Ash-Shamil in Usuluddin logged about Judge Abu Bakr, that's not Abu Bakr the companion, that the scholars have a consensus that for the lack of obligation, when one knows or thinks that bidding the good and forbidding the evil is pointless, he logged the consensus about the lack of that obligation. And so that's what the Judge Abu Bakr, he logged the consensus about the lack of that obligation. And who logged what Judge Abu Bakr said? The author of Ash-Shamil. And the author of Ash-Shamil did not disagree with Judge Abu Bakr about this. Intaha, end quote. Wallahu a'lam. We'll stop there. Any question? He said, is a dog whistle allowed to be used? I never heard about it. But if the dog whistle is like they say, then the reason for it to be haram is not present. If someone were to say it's haram, then I'd ask him why, according to the rules. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.